Hello and welcome to another of the stories we're doing in a series of videos about the history and culture of Lanzarote. And this one is an absolute cracker. It involves the biggest event on the island. And today we're going to tell you the story of how it came about, why it happened, and what we still do today in what is the biggest event, as I said before, on the island. But I'll wager it's one many of you have never heard of, and it's called the Romería de los Dolores. Now, I'll tell you in some detail later on in the video about the Romería today and actually what happens, what goes on, how you can either go and watch it or, more importantly, I think, be a part of it. But first, let's talk about the history, and it's an absolutely fascinating story of how this annual pilgrimage came about. Now, the story all starts in the Big Timan fire eruptions, which, as you probably know, took place between 1730 and 1736. Now, the lava from those eruptions is very slow flowing. So over a period of 6 years, it gradually covered huge parts of the island through Timan fire going down in the south towards Playa Blanca and El Golfo, but it also headed north towards Tinajo. And it was slow flowing, but lava is just inexorable. There's nothing you can do to stop it, and it engulfed many, many villages that had previously been there over the years. Now, in 1736, that lava was still flowing, and it was heading north towards the village of Mancha Blanca. And the villagers, whose patron saint was the Virgin Dolores, decided that they would go and pray to Dolores and to God to try and stop the lava from flowing into and engulfing their village. And they all went with their priest, and they went to the foot of the Monte Guiguan, the mountain of Guiguan, and they prayed to Dolores and to God to stop the lava flow. And they promised that if the lava flow was indeed stopped and didn't engulf their village, that they would build a church in honor of the Virgin. Now, miraculously, the lava flow stopped pretty much where the cross was planted in the ground. And you can actually go and visit Mancha Blanca today, and you can see very clearly where the lava flow stopped in front of the cross. The 6 years of eruptions ended in 1736, in April of that year. And unfortunately, the villagers just kind of, with their sense of relief and everything else, just went back to their daily lives. Timan fire, after this awful 6-year eruption, was a memory, and they didn't build the church they had promised to do so. Now we fast forward to 1774, and a young 9-year-old shepherdess, Juana Rafaela Acosta, was out with her goats one day, and she was accosted by a woman she described as wearing mourning clothes, and by mourning that's M-O-U, so she was in mourning, who said to her to go, or told her to go and see her parents and remind them to tell all of the villagers that they'd made a promise to build a church. So she did that. She went back, she told all of the villagers, or asked her parents to tell all of the villagers they should do it, and nobody believed her. They thought she was just being a silly little girl, and she was sent away, and her mission was unsuccessful. But a few days later, she ran into that same woman in the mourning clothes again. And the woman said to her, "Did you have the conversation with the villagers?" And she said, "Yes, I did, so did my parents, but nobody believed me." So the woman in the mourning clothes then put her hand on Juana's shoulder and said, "Now go back and tell them again, and they will believe you." And when the villagers saw the mark of the Virgin in a sort of purple colour on her shoulder, they immediately realized that this was serious and they must do something about it. The villagers showed Juana paintings of various saints, and she identified Dolores as the one that she had seen in mourning clothes. So it was decided by the villagers that they would indeed build a church, and they worked hard for 10 years, and they built the church, which is the one you can still go and see today in Mancha Blanca, and it's right by where the lava stopped. It's a beautiful little church and well worth a visit at any time of year. Now, you may know that there was another quite large eruption in that area in 1824, and once again the lava flow stopped short of Mancha Blanca, and it was after the 1824 eruption that Dolores, the Virgin, the saint, was proclaimed Señora de los Volcanes, Lady of the Volcanoes. So Dolores is a very, very important saint for the island of Lanzarote. Let's fast forward now to what happens today and what has happened for a few hundred years now. Every single year, a pilgrimage is held on the Saturday closest to the 15th of September. And islanders from all over the island join in on this pilgrimage. This is what makes it the biggest event in Lanzarote, because a sizable proportion of the island's population take part in this pilgrimage. We've done it many, many times over the years we've been living here from different parts of the island. Traditionally, people would walk from wherever they lived. These days, a lot of people walk from Monumento Campesino at San Bartolome. It's a fair old walk to get to Mancha Blanca, but it's doable and there's parking for cars. But if you get up very early on the morning of the Saturday closest to the 15th of September, you will see some people who will have set off at midnight, for example, from Playa Blanca or from Orsala at the other end of the island. Now, everyone does it in traditional Canarian clothing, and it just provides the most incredible spectacle, because on any hour of the Saturday closest to the 15th of December, you can pick any of the routes leading to Mancha Blanca from different parts of the island, and you will see literally thousands of people all dressed in traditional Canarian clothing heading towards Mancha Blanca to give tribute to the Virgin who saved the little village. Now, as well as people, you'll see camels, you'll see donkeys pulling carts, you'll see people pushing shopping trolleys with food and drink to sustain their group on the long walk. And everyone's converging on this little village for the mother of all parties which takes place. But the first thing that happens in the afternoon is that offerings are made to the Virgin of food and drink and so on, which gets passed on to people in need by all of the town's municipalities. So there's a television show with a presentation where each municipality kind of wheels out perhaps a donkey-drawn cart laden with food and clothes and all kinds of stuff. And it's after that happens that a church service takes place to once again give tribute and pray to the Virgin. And following the church service, the party starts. And there are chiringuitos all around where you can buy food and drink. There are usually events going on a big stage there. You'll see timple players playing their timples. There are batucada bands. There's all kinds of stuff, and it goes on until the early hours. And as well as that entertainment, there is a craft fair which is held for a few days beforehand and finishes on the actual day of the Romeria. And that craft fair pulls in artisans from all over the Canary Islands to show off their stuff. So you can find metal workers, woodworkers, people who make cigars, people who make hats and baskets out of palm leaves and so on. Now, I said at the top that it's quite a spectacle to watch, and if you're here on that Saturday closest to the 15th of September, I would advise you to go and find somewhere on one of the roads going into Mancha Blanca where you can just park up and watch the people. As I said before, it's an amazing sight. I always find it very moving to see thousands of people of all ages, from small children to great-grandparents, walking along in their Canarian clothing to give tribute to Dolores. But better still, why not take part? You'll find that in a lot of the shops in Arrecife leading up to the event, it's very easy to buy the traditional Canarian clothing. Now you can buy it from the less expensive shops. It won't cost you a fortune of money, or you can go to some of the high-end shops where they do fully tailored outfits that you can wear. And the men will wear pinstripe trousers, a kind of scarf or cummerbund around their waist, white shirts with slightly puffy sleeves, a fedora, and everyone tends to wear a scarf. The ladies wear beautifully coloured big skirts, and again with white blouses, and they'll have an apron on the front and often be wearing a scarf and one of the traditional hats made from palm leaves. Now you can pick up this stuff relatively easily, and anyone can join in. There isn't a, what's the right word, there isn't an entry or anything you need to do. You can just walk from wherever you want to walk from. So you could park a couple of kilometres outside of Mancha Blanca and just walk in and join in with the other people who've come from further afield. Or you could do, as we often do, park your car at Monumento Campesino and walk from there. But obviously you'll need to organise a lift back. So there you go. I hope you found that interesting. I think it's a lovely story. It moves me every year without fail. It's very much a part of Lanzarote life, and everyone talks about the Romeria Los Dolores. We really appreciate every one of you who watches these videos. If you've liked this one, please give us a like. If you have any comments or questions, please use the comments below and let me know what you're thinking. Thank you so much once again, and bye for now.